let's give you a reminder of the result in the Premier League at Old Trafford between Manchester United and Arsenal. A 1-0 win to the Gunners, match day one of the Premier League season. But an improved showing from Manchester United, even though it was a loss. Ruben Amorim remaining upbeat after the game. This is what he had to say. Afterwards, he said, "We have the players to win any game of the Premier League. We need to focus. Forget about the noise. We are fighting for the places. That is a good thing. But we are playing as a team. It doesn't matter who is playing. We want to win games." So let's welcome in Mark Ogden now. And Mark, I want to put that first part of the quote to you, that Ruben Amorim says we have the players to win any game in the Premier League. Do you agree with that?
No. But I think they've got a better team this year. They've definitely improved the forward line. They're much better. And watching United yesterday, they were totally different. They were exciting. They were adventurous. But as Shaka, I'm sure, will agree, they haven't got a goalkeeper. And when you haven't got a goalkeeper that you can rely upon, you can't beat the best teams in the Premier League, because I think that's United's issue. They had the better of the game against Arsenal, but they didn't take any of the chances. And when you don't take your chances, you need a keeper that's going to keep them out. And it was a terrible goal to concede. And whether it was Bayanda or Onana, they can't rely on the goalkeeper. So that's why I don't think United can beat the best teams in the Premier League, because they haven't got a goalkeeper they can rely upon.
He could have been stronger. He could have been more physical about it. And now, I watched the show yesterday and the discussion around how physical Bayanda could have been with Saliba. Given we're now in the age of VAR, and what that looks like. But while back in my day, somebody that close to me, that physical with me, you can just kind of put your body on them, you can push them away, and that mightn't go well unnoticed. Players will probably go over a whole lot easier and invite the referee and the VAR to make a decision. So secondly, as a goalkeeper, I think you have to be a little bit more clever about it. Now, the odd thing from a technique perspective about this is Bayanda goes with his left hand, the hand that's closer. While it's closer to Saliba, it's also closer to the ball. If you make a point of kind of showing that the defender is pinning your, again, in this case from this side, pinning your left arm, then you make the appeal to the VAR. So while you can't, as a goalkeeper, do what you did 10 or 20 years ago, because of VAR, you can then get clever in how you kind of show this up as a foul. And I don't think Bayanda did that.
Do you agree with Shaka?
Yes and no. I think there's a section in the middle. You say 20 years ago, I understand that, but there was a gap in the middle to where if a goalkeeper dropped on the floor, they'd just automatically give a free kick. It felt like, that's during the goalkeeper's softer era, you could say.
Well, according to Stevie Nicol, we're still in the goalkeeper's softer era, but that's a whole different argument we're on there.
I think it's good to see that go back again, because one thing which I'm seeing as well is within the frame of the goal, as the ball went in, there were 7 United players, and there were 2 Arsenal players. In reality, you should be able to deal with that situation, because as that surface is coming in, how many United players came close to heading the ball? You need to have people in and around the goalkeeper who are going to affect that. And the point that you've made about Bayanda being stronger, he absolutely needs to be. He needs to be smarter, needs to be stronger. Because in the first half as well, I think David Raya had a similar bit of service come in, and he got a strong punch to it. Yeah. He was under duress, he was feeling lots of pressure, but he came over the top and punched it. It wasn't a massive punch.
To the point.
It wasn't a massive punch, but it was a punch nonetheless. Yeah. And that's what you need, because if that in-swinging surface is going to come in, you need to trust your goalkeeper to be able to handle it. Because one thing about Arsenal, and it won't just be Arsenal this season, they're going to put you under pressure with set pieces in a way that, is different to years gone by, because I think there's more leniency now in terms of what you can do in and around a goalkeeper. So if you don't have a goalkeeper that's strong enough, as Oggy said, then Amorim could talk about, could beat any team. Well, that's unless there's an in-swinging corner coming in for, the 10th time and again.
To that point, and Raya isn't a physically imposing goalkeeper, yet he dealt with the pressure from Manchester United wonderfully well. And the other thing, and again, Bayanda will accept, he will have to take a lot of the blame here. But I think I'm right in saying that Mount is the closest defender to Saliba. Now, I mean, Saliba is a big boy. Mount isn't. So for, again, how you set up, it's almost as though this set piece, Arsenal's set up, caught Amorim by surprise. And there's absolutely no reason, no excusing that.
Where are you on this, Mark Ogden?
The goalkeeper, I mean, watching that yesterday, I mean, I've just seen it again now, and I've seen it quite a few times. I don't think there was even a foul. I think Saliba and Mount are grappling in front of the goalkeeper. And Bayende is he's almost walking into the confrontation. You watch Saliba, he doesn't do anything to Bayende apart from just maybe encroaching his space a little bit. So Bayende should just be pushing him out of the way. Now, I take Xhaka's point about what was Mason Mount doing on Saliba. There is a theory that because of last season, Arsenal would tend to attack the far post, that De Ligt was on the far post waiting for the Arsenal, the big guys, to arrive there. So De Ligt was the presence at the far post. But that still doesn't explain why Mason Mount is taking, William Saliba at centre-half. So there's a few issues for United to address there, and they were caught out. But, I've seen lots of kind of revisionist theories about this, that, Onana would have been better there. If David De Gea had stayed, he'd have been fine. Well, we saw David De Gea very weak at that sort of set-piece situation in his final years at United. Onana's never been convincing. So we know that United have looked for a goalkeeper this summer. They inquired at Martinez at Aston Villa early on in the window, were told he wasn't available, certainly not on loan. Gianluigi Donnarumma is a player, as a goalkeeper they've looked at as well, but that has kind of stalled. I think the wages are too high there. But they do need a goalkeeper, and they are looking for a goalkeeper. But Ruben Amorim has to say the right things to basically say to his goalkeepers, you're my guys. They're his guys until they're not his guys, and the sooner that they're not his guys, the better for Ruben Amorim. But at the moment, he has to say, I back Bayende and Onana because they're both good goalkeepers. But, I mean, personally, I think they're the worst two goalkeepers in the Premier League in terms of they've got the worst number one and the worst number two.
So what, is there a chance that they don't get a new keeper, Mark?
Sorry, Nate. You disagree?
Just say it with your chest if you want. Go for it.
There is a good chance they won't get a goalkeeper in because United now have to get players out. They really need to get some money in. But the situation is they've let Marcus Rashford go to Barcelona, but obviously there's no fee involved there. They've saved a bit on his wages. Jadon Sancho has turned down a move to Roma. That would have brought in £20 million. So that is a big blow for United. And at the minute, Sancho isn't looking like going anywhere. They need to get him off the books. Antony, again, not really any firm interest in Antony despite his time at Betis last season. Garnacho. Now, Garnacho's a player that Chelsea are interested in, but everybody knows that United want Garnacho out. So Chelsea are waiting and waiting and waiting. And then you've got Tyrell Malacia, isn't going to bring a lot of money in. Rasmus Højlund, AC Milan are keen on Højlund, but United want at least £30 million. Milan don't want to pay that, they want it on loan. So I don't know where United are going to get the money from. There are 4 or 5 players they are happy to let go, but their asking price right now is too high. Look, we've got 2 weeks of the window to go. It closes 2 weeks today, and I'm sure in the final days of the window that United will have to drop their asking price and these players will get a move. But by then it's going to be too late because they need to get a goalkeeper and probably a defensive midfielder in. But it's going to be a struggle. The priority now has to be to get players out, and that's where they're finding it difficult.
Obviously, we just saw the full screen there for Jadon Sancho. Mark brought him up. He's turned down a move to Roma. Gasperini's come in at Roma. We know everything achieved at Atalanta. We know he's got a very attack-minded philosophy when it comes to football. It could have been a really nice move for Jadon Sancho. Can you understand why he has turned it down?
It depends, to be honest. I think from the general fan perspective, it'd be like, well, why would you turn down a move to go and play good football, to play under Gasperini and so on? But I'm sure there are reasons for Jadon that makes him suggest that he doesn't want to go permanently to go and play in Italy, for example. I'm not sure exactly what those reasons are, but as I see him, because he was the manager at Atalanta, wasn't it? So this is Jadon Sancho, Ademola Lookman. I could see a comparison there in terms of style of play. And Ademola Lookman ended up winning African Player of the Year. He's been nominated for the Ballon d'Or and all sorts in that system. So I could see it working for him, but maybe the fit just isn't there. Maybe he's spoken to Gasperini, they don't get along. Maybe he's seen some of the wider things around the football club as well. So he's going to try and hold his ground for as long as possible. But if Roma really wants him and they can't move on to another target, as Mark said, this next 2 weeks is going to be really interesting because there's nothing quite like running out of time to sort of clear your mind and clear your thinking as a player that's keen to play football. And that's why we see so many deals late on in the window.
Do you think there's been a level of mismanagement with Jadon Sancho in his career?
In what sense?
Well, just the way it's played out. He's had some of these chances. Maybe some of these chances haven't played out the way he would have hoped. Have you seen other players that have mismanaged perhaps their career in the way that he might have?
Possibly. Everyone's different. There are ways that we like to see players play and to conduct themselves, and there are ways which players just do themselves that see best. It seems that since he's come to United, the system and the situation in England hasn't suited him. I think he took some time away for, personal issues as well. So he's somebody that appears to need to have an arm around him. But then, say, myself and lots of other players, we're from an era whereby you don't really put arms around people. You trust them to be able to know their job and do their job. So maybe he's not been in the right environment for him. And obviously that might sound super soft and so on, but that's the type of player that he is. And I think when you look back at his time at Dortmund, when he was a huge success as a young player, you know that it's there. But who's going to be the next manager to unlock it? Because as time passes, people start to have their doubts. But the picture showed as well, he's 25 years old. It's the easiest thing to forget because we've spoken about him for so long. So there's still a lot of good years ahead of him, but it's about finding the right place and almost him himself accepting that the way that maybe he wants to do things isn't going to be the way that clubs want to do it as well.
From a Jadon Sancho perspective, and as much as there's interest from other clubs, and in this case Roma, kind of give him his form early on at Dortmund, and then when he went back on loan, didn't hit the heights that he did when he was first there, but certainly looked very comfortable. Now, the fact that he continues to turn down moves away in preference to stay at Manchester United and not play, and maybe he's just, to Nathan's point, he's 25 years old. I'm going to make the bulk of my earnings now, and then I'll be free to kind of enjoy the rest of my career from there on in. But all other things being equal, nothing. The fact that he continues to turn down moves to play, and as a player, and I'm going to use my own kind of litmus test here. I prefer to play than sit on the bench and pick up money. And maybe that's it for he continues to turn down those opportunities and only took the one in Germany. That for me just says that he feels comfortable. That's where he feels most comfortable. That's where he feels he'll get the support he needs to rediscover his form.
Yeah, for me, I think we've got to be very careful about, because I've been in a situation where I've been essentially left out in the wilderness, and I've been surrounded by other players that have said, I'm just going to accept this check. I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to play. I don't care. I'm just going to get paid. But as time passes, you see their minds start to change when they realise how difficult that actually is. So I don't necessarily think that Sancho's in that mindset just now. But if it gets to the end of the window and he's not gone anywhere, then he's going to have serious questions to ask. Because at the moment, I think we can have a discussion about where he says maybe Roma's not the right club for him. But one thing we know for sure is that United's not either. So I think in time, we'll see what his mindset is like and the sort of conditions he'll set up to give himself a chance to play again. Because, you know, with the best years we've seen from him when he's playing week in, week out. So unless he's completely changed who he is, he's not going to be happy not playing. So I think in the next 2 weeks, he will find an option, but maybe it's just not Roma.
Let's get to Arsenal then, because we've obviously talked about United in this game. Mark, you've got Arsenal to win the title this season. Are you having any second thoughts after yesterday?
No, I'm not. You know, I saw Liverpool Friday night and I watched City on Saturday, and I think they're the three main contenders. And I just think that Arsenal have got this real stubbornness and real resolve that they can go all the way. I mean, they really grind out a result at United, and I'm sure Liverpool and City can do that as well. But I think they definitely added that grittiness. And some of the things that Arsenal do, we don't like. You know, they waste time, they're cynical. We saw Ben White, you know, on the ground having treatment when he was being taken off. There's little things like that Arsenal do, which nobody likes, but they are effective. And I think they have got goals in them. I'm not sure whether Gyökeres is the guy that will score 20 goals, but I still think they'll score plenty of goals. So yeah, I think Arsenal have got what it takes. I think Liverpool, you know, they need to kind of address the balance. They've got maybe too many attackers and not enough defensive midfielders in there. I think City, it was Wolves, so let's wait and see how they go on. But I think Arsenal definitely, I think this weekend showed that they may have added that little bit of extra they need to win the league this season.
What did you think of Arsenal at the weekend, Jack?
Well, unimpressive in a win. And while I want to say, listeners, we're one game into the new season, it's, you know, we shouldn't be drawing broad sweeping conclusions. This is ESPN FC, and that's kind of what we do.
We are.
So with that in mind, listen, this is Arsenal as we saw last season. On the one hand, from an Arsenal perspective, you want to say it's good that you can play poorly and still come away from Old Trafford with 3 points. On the other, just in terms of the football that we saw, it was nothing really to write home about, nothing to get overly excited about. Gyökeres got a run out. He will get better. Certainly will have to be better if Arsenal are to win the title. Not every game are Arsenal going to just win 1-0 thanks to set piece. In the end, probably that's why they drew as many games as they did last season, and why they didn't chase Liverpool a little bit more earnestly in the back end of the season. So that has to change. Well, again, We're only 90 minutes in. That has to improve. If it does, they as everybody's been saying all preseason long, this is as balanced a team as you will see in the Premier League. They get those things right. They avoid injuries to key people. There's absolutely no reason why Arsenal can't again chase down whether it's Liverpool or City or indeed win this league.
What do you think, Mark, about Gyökeres? Yesterday it came up between Nedum and Dan. Do you think he's going to take some time to integrate? Because Nedum had the feeling that Havertz is going to be starting some of the games still.
Yeah, listen, Gyökeres has a fantastic record in Portugal, and he was, chased by lots of clubs. But I was surprised at how out of shape he looked. He's not had a pre-season to speak of really, because he had his situation with Sporting where he didn't train for a week or two, and then he joined up with Arsenal mid-tour, so he looked short of fitness. But I was a little bit surprised at just how ineffective he was. But it's his first game. It's away at Man United, and the teammates are trying to, find a way to play with him. So it's way too early to assess. But questions will be asked if he doesn't start scoring goals fairly quickly, because he has gone from the Championship to Sporting Lisbon in Portugal. He's not really played at the highest level before. He's done well in the Champions League, but I do think that, I was surprised how ineffective he was against United. But they play Leeds at the weekend, a home game at the Emirates. That might be a better game for him to perform in. But I think Nedum's right. I think when they play at Liverpool at Anfield in 2 weeks' time, I think Havertz will be back in, because that Havertz can deliver. And I think Gyökeres will take a bit of a time to find his feet.
I'll let you come back in on that.
On him.
On that conversation that you and Dan got into yesterday.
Yeah, for me, it's people have been saying for a while that Arsenal need a number 9, and then here's a number 9 as such. But I think for the way that Arteta thinks about football, I think he wanted a number 9 as an option, not the only option. So I think for the way that Havertz plays, even when he came on, he was taking more touches and playing it in a slightly different manner. And I think given how complex and sort of in transition the Premier League can be, there are certain players that suit certain games and others that maybe don't. So I don't necessarily think just because he's been brought in for the big money, he's going to be starting every single match. That's not going to be the case. I wouldn't be surprised if, for example, as well, maybe like Zubimendi doesn't start one game, maybe Rice is the deeper one, and you get, say, Havertz higher or something. But these are the options that he has. And I think the options are what people have been talking about Arsenal for a long time as well, because Arteta would be pretty much wed in terms of just playing one team over and over and over and say, it's going to burn out at some point. So yeah, I think he'll use that as an option. And for Gyökeres, like on the weekend, it's not a great start, but in reality, it's just the start. And I think to put it into perspective, every game in the Premier League at times is so different, especially given the context of when it's being played. And United playing their first game at home with new signings, playing against an Arsenal side and somehow being an underdog in front of 70,000 people lends itself to a game where United are going to be on the front foot. The way United play their next game might be different to how they played against Arsenal. And it was a deeply physical front foot game from United. And both teams went at it. In some ways, it kind of reminded me of the old school Arsenal United games from way back when, where they would basically be going to war. Because there were more duels and clashes in that game than, say, real good bits of quality football. So in time, Arsenal, like as Mark said, for them to get through that, I think is a good thing. I think Arteta would have sensed within the game quite early that that's the type of game it was going to be, in a hostile environment with like a team that's very much going up against them. And I think Gyökeres is going to get used to that. And maybe in the next games, they can play a style that probably suits him more, suits the team more. And we can see the Arsenal that are probably going to score probably 80-plus goals this season.
I think one of the things when you talk about Arsenal and a striker and the need for a striker, and in comparison with not only other teams in the league, but certainly great footballing teams throughout, or certainly good number 9s throughout in the Premier League, is just that in-the-box instinct to be in the right place at the right time, which, whether you're a fan of Kai Havertz or not, that was not his strength. And while Kai Havertz fits into Arsenal and how Arteta had them playing, they still miss that player. And I hate to make these comparisons, but Kun Aguero as much as anybody, or an Erling Haaland. For as good finishers as they are, how many goals a season did they get where it just happened to bounce off somebody's shin and they were just in the right place, where somehow they were always in the right place? And that's what Arsenal have been missing. Somebody who the ball just falls loose and somehow finds them, and in that fraction of a second can put it in the bottom corner. That's what they're missing. Not necessarily the strikes from 25 yards or the incredible finishes that you see from a Kun Aguero or Erling Haaland, but just somebody 5 or 6 yards out, it just bobbles off of someone's ankle, and they're there to make the difference.
Yeah, we did just get a look at Mark Ogden's predictions there. You've got Manchester United in 5th, Mark. You still happy with that?
Yeah, listen, I was impressed by United on Sunday, which, considering that they lost, I think we have to take that game in isolation. They were playing Arsenal, one of the favourites for the title, and United did as much as they could to win the game. And as I said earlier, they were let down by a goalkeeper's mistake. I think they'll score a lot more goals than last season. They can't be as bad as last season. And I think Newcastle have got issues. Aston Villa have got issues. I think there's a spot there in fifth place that can be grabbed, but obviously they need to make a big improvement. But they've got one game a week. They're not in Europe, so a lot of things are playing in their favour this season. They've certainly got no excuses, and I think that they were so bad last season, but they were beyond bad. I think that for United, they are generally 7th or 8th when they've been in this kind of transitional period. So I do think United can finish 5th. I think they've got that in them.
There's been a bit of positivity around Manchester United after that game, Shaka.
Not from Mark.
And if it came from Mark as well, that's significant positivity.
Craig Burley yesterday. Has it tempted you, what we saw yesterday, to redo your predictions and put them in your top 6?
No. I still think Manchester United are a team that will finish somewhere between 8th and 10th. And don't get me wrong, I thought Manchester United were far better yesterday than I expected them to be. But even with the talk around the goalkeeper and the deficiencies, I don't see how. I still have so many questions about Manchester United through midfield. I absolutely love Casemiro, but right now he is not. And he started yesterday, and I know Amorim has options, but he's not the anchor in the midfield for a top 5 team.
Okay. We're going to let you go now, Mark. We're going to leave it at that. You said something nice for once about Manchester United, so we'll quit while we're ahead, shall we? But with Real Madrid about to kick off their campaign tomorrow, this is Xabi Alonso talking about Franco Mastantuono. He said he's going to integrate very quickly into the team. He could get minutes tomorrow. He'll bring quality energy, is committed defensively, and has good momentum. I've seen that he has that drive and that Argentine competitive spirit. He's good with the final pass. He is at a very good level. Let's welcome in our Madrid correspondent, Alex Kirkland, now, who will be at the Bernabeu for us tomorrow. What's the hope here then, Alex? Is it that Real Madrid have got their hands on their own teenage sensation, given what we're seeing with Lamine Yamal over at Barcelona?
Well, there's a lot of excitement about Mastantuono, no question about that, and especially from Xabi Alonso. You read the quote there. I think you can see it, you can hear it in his voice. Every time Alonso talks about Mastantuono, he thinks this guy's a special player. And like he was saying there, it's about two things. Yes, he's got the quality, but it's also about his character. Alonso, every time he talks about him, keeps kind of repeating about how mature he is. He talked today about the first conversation he had with Mastantuono when he was still 17, and he was struck by that this was a man. This wasn't a boy. He's got this incredible kind of level-headed maturity. He's taking everything in his stride. And when you add that to the quality that he's got, talking about that Argentinian fighting spirit as well, I mean, he makes him sound like a really complete player. Now, we've got to bear in mind, he only turned 18 on Thursday. He was presented on Thursday, had his first training session on Friday. So he's literally had a handful of training sessions with the team. So exactly what role he plays tomorrow in this game against the Bernabeu against Osasuna, would it be from the start? I think that might be unlikely, as much as Alonso likes him. But as he said there, he's ready and available to play some minutes, even if it's not from the start.
So you don't see him starting tomorrow, Alex. Who do you see starting? Talk us through your 11 against Osasuna.
Yeah, there's a couple of question marks. One of them is on the right-hand side of the attack, which is where Mastantuono might fit in if he were to play. I reckon that Brahim Diaz probably gets the nod there. It's between Brahim, Rodrigo and Mastantuono, with, of course, Bellingham out as he recovers from that shoulder surgery. Alonso was talking about Brahim Diaz again today, saying how much he likes him as a player, a kind of a combination player, a player that makes the players around him look better. He started in their friendly last week and did pretty well. So I think that there's a good chance that Brahim Diaz starts on the right-hand side of the attack. The other big question mark for me is in defence, and it's also on the right-hand side. It's at right back, and that's between Trent Alexander-Arnold and Dani Carvajal. Of course, Trent, the big name coming in this summer. He's the player that was starting at right back during the Club World Cup. But I don't think we should write off Dani Carvajal either. It's easy to forget, what a high level he's been at for so many years. Such an important player for Real Madrid, one of the biggest characters, a leader in the dressing room as well. I don't think we can write off Dani Carvajal, but I think right now, given the role that Trent has played in the team so far since he arrived, and the fact that Carvajal, of course, has spent so much time out through injury, I think Trent is the favourite to start ahead of Carvajal. But like I say, that's not saying that that's a permanent decision. That might just be for now.
This is the season that Real Madrid are looking to come back. Barcelona already have a win under their belts. Real Madrid were playing in the Club World Cup. Do you think that's going to affect them in this game?
I think we've seen around Europe that it has affected some teams, but in reality, they still have enough quality to be able to get across the line at this stage. I think maybe they'll find their best a little bit later to say some of the other teams that weren't away this summer. But it's very tough to bet against them, to be honest. I think we've seen historically, in particular, they've always found a way. And with the quality that they have now and the depth that we're speaking about in relation to that, and I think something that you can't really quantify as well is that desire to make amends for what came the year before. Sometimes you can feel the tiredness, you can feel the stress, but they want to regain that title. They want to show exactly who they are. And it's fair to say that in the duration of last year, they were almost unrecognisable at times. So I think it's going to be, obviously, a tough game as such, physically. But in terms of the mentality and all that, I'm pretty sure they'll find a way.
We've got to win.
They have to, and I think they will. And to Nathan's point, I think without question, Real Madrid have more than enough talent to cope with Osasuna, even with a shortened pre-season. The only thing for me, the thing that kind of upsets me most about Real Madrid is this kind of us against them mentality, and you saw it again, wanted the opening game, pushed even further back, and it seems to be as though Real Madrid are taking exception to everything that La Liga suggests, or if La Liga pushes back against any of their requests. I just feel that for a club of that size, that kind of siege mentality can only work short term. So Real Madrid just have to settle into who they are. They have to regain, or aiming to regain, top spot in the league. Let that be their only focus, and not kind of pick these arbitrary fights everywhere else they look.
Meanwhile, in the background, there's some breaking news coming from Madrid, Alex. You've got that on Vini Jr.'s contract. What's the latest and what's going on?
Yeah, our information from our colleague Gustavo Hoffman is that those contract talks have stalled for some time now, for weeks. Basically, what happened at the end of last season was that Vini's camp kind of put out a kind of number they'd expect to receive from Madrid in terms of that new contract. Madrid then came back with a counter offer, basically. And since then, there hasn't been any progress, because basically the sort of numbers that Real Madrid were talking about weren't considered acceptable to Vini and his representatives. So right now, their attitude is, well, let's just wait. Let's see how things go. Now, of course, right now, in terms of a negotiating position, Vinicius Jr. isn't in the strongest position given his performance last season. He wasn't at his best last year, had a pretty inconsistent year, certainly a step down from what we'd seen the previous year. And I think their hope is, well, let's wait and see if Vinicius Jr. has a storming start to the season and is back at his absolute best again, then he's in a stronger position to negotiate a new deal. I think their position is there's no hurry. 2 years left until 2027. And the club, of course, wouldn't want the situation to drag on and on, but also they're reluctant to pay the kind of money that Vini is and his people are talking about. And our information is that figure would be looking at some 20 million euros net, plus another 10 million euros in terms of bonuses and variables, and that's not something the club are willing to consider. So right now, there's no movement. But like I say, I think the idea from Vini's side is, well, if he gets back to his best, let's come back in a few weeks or a few months, and he's back as one of the best players in Spain again. Then the club might be more likely to offer the kind of numbers that they'd be happy to accept.
Are they playing a dangerous game there, or are they out here playing 4D chess?
Real Madrid?
No, Vini's people.
To be honest, I think I would get out of bed for 20 million net a year. I think I would you?
Well, for breakfast.
I think maybe they are playing a dangerous game in some ways, but I think if Vinicius Jr. became available, especially on the open market in a couple of years, I think he would have plenty of suitors and that money would be available to him. So yes, they're going to back the player, they're going to back him to know that he can be better than he was, say, the last year. And Real Madrid are going to be hard. This is like prime negotiation. I think obviously there'll be a point where they'll probably meet in the middle. But for now, Vinicius thinks this is his value and he's not going to move from that. And the better he plays, the more you'll see that, yeah, that value seems a bit more realistic at some stage. But it is going to be interesting again, because I think in regards to what's ahead, under a new manager in Xabi Alonso? Is it a guarantee that like he's going to be doing everything he can to build a team almost around him in some ways? Like, how's he going to look in a Xabi Alonso side, not just for a Club World Cup or for the first couple of games, like for an extended stretch? So yes, in some ways you could say it's a dangerous game, but this is the art of the negotiation, isn't it?
It's interesting though, Shaq, because there's a few years ago we would have never thought there was any talk of Vini Jr. even potentially leaving Real Madrid. And does it feel as though that's changed to you?
Not right now. Not in terms of Vini leaving Real Madrid. Not right now. I think Vini's agents, his representatives, are doing exactly what they should be at this point. Because while we're talking about Vinicius Jr. and the temptation is to say, well, last season wasn't his best. 2 years ago, Real Madrid pretty much nailed their colours to Vinicius winning the Ballon d'Or, and then Kylian Mbappe arrives. And now, from a player perspective, or at least if I'm that player's agent, Kylian Mbappe becomes the bar. And now, make what you like about whether you got him for free for PSG or not, whatever else it may be. I'm looking at performances on the park. And while Kylian Mbappe won the scoring title last season, I'm still thinking that Vinicius Jr. at his best is the one more likely to win the Ballon d'Or. I'm speaking as Vinicius' agent here.
Of course, yes.
Vinicius is more likely to win the Ballon d'Or, kind of given his performances of 2 years ago. So therefore, I want Kylian money. And now, Real Madrid, to their defense, are probably saying, well, we can't pay Kylian twice. But that's where I am as a player. Now, it's up to you to make it work. And now, all of a sudden, and the fact that we're 2 years out from the end of his contract is key, because come next summer, the power shifts significantly to the player in being able to walk away in 6 months' time, or sign a contract in 6 months' time, walk away for free in 12 months' time. So again, for me, it may be a dangerous game, but it's absolutely the right one that his agents are playing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to go back to a day during this ESPN FC marathon I've been on, there was a point where Steve McManaman was sitting here, and he was talking about Xabi Alonso and how he's been back from the people above. And this was in regards to how he wants the team to play and the effort and defending that needs to be done. And this was, say, for example, in a discussion about Kylian Mbappe, to where Steve McManaman sat there and he said, if Mbappe is not running as much as he needs to, Xabi Alonso is allowed to put him onto the bench. So now, think about those issues we had with Mbappe. Are they not the same issues we had with Vinicius Jr.? So I fully believe that Vinicius Jr. can go back to being one of the best players in the world, obviously. But it's not necessarily going to be on his terms in a way that maybe we saw in years gone by. So it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's a really good segment, that, from you guys. Saw that one.
Thank you.
Liked it.
Thank you.
Maka was talking a lot more rubbish at the weekend. Let me after that Mallorca game. I'm totally disappointed with our performance. The fans have every right to protest, obviously without using violence. But if they want to curse and insult, they're in their right. It's a feeling of extreme shame. I've never experienced this in my life. It just got us thinking, Shaq, have you guys ever been through an experience that made you feel tearful on the pitch? Or have you seen anything like that reduced you to tears on the pitch?
Not a bad experience, to your question. I mean, the only time I can recall being in tears on the pitch is when Trinidad and Tobago qualified for the World Cup. And I wasn't playing, I was actually on the bench, but you run on and emotion gets the better of you. I've been the wrong side of at least one 7-0.
Were you in goal for all 7?
Yeah, okay. I can see. I picked the ball out every single time.
You got and you didn't, not one lone tear?
No, you don't. You get angry, but not emotional. And at some point in the game, there's a sense of resignation. Like, let's just get this, blow this off, ref. You know, we're not coming back. It's only going to get worse from here on in. So, you know, so to have that kind of emotional response on the park is not something I've ever felt.
For me personally, I've never cried or felt really the need to cry on a football pitch, but I've had both experiences as Shaq has just described there. I've had a great moment in 2014 when we won the playoff final at Wembley, and that was an amazing experience. I've had some games playing for some of my clubs like City and so on, where my family and stuff are in the stands, you know, like first games and all that. But I've also been destroyed in many a game as well, okay? I'll be completely honest with you. And as Shaq has said there, more than anything, you're like frustrated, you're angry. And in those defeats, everything that you do when you're being outplayed is being judged. Then some days the team doesn't have it, some days you don't have it. And you almost feel like helpless with that situation. But it's not through lack of effort, it's just not there on the day. But then there've been times where one of my teams has been battered and so on. You get into the dressing room afterwards and the first criticism is, and you didn't even lay a glove on them. But then I've had people, when you're losing quite badly, who go and lay a glove and then get sent off, and now you're down a player whilst also getting destroyed. And at that point, you do feel the shame, you feel the frustration, you hear everything in the crowd, especially when it's at home, you hear everything, and you'll never be able to live it down. And to take the edge off something that's happened recently, so Sunderland being back in the Premier League is brilliant. And my year there in 2010-11, one of my favourite seasons I had in my career, we lost to Newcastle 5-1 at St James's Park. That still haunts me to this day. And this was in 2010. It still haunts me to this day. So yeah, and at that point, I wanted to leave planet Earth, I'll be completely honest with you. But it's never been about tears, and I think the fact that, say, Neymar's managed to go through his whole career without getting destroyed like that, you know, credit to him, but welcome to the party, my friend.
You know, as you were talking there, it reminded me, probably the closest I came on the back of a defeat was Reading's playoff defeat in that would have been 94, 95 season. But again, it was a different set of emotions during the game because we were in the lead, we were 2 up. We then Bolton, we had a penalty saved, and on 86 minutes we were 2-1 up, and going to the Premier League, and then all of a sudden Bolton equalised in the 86 or 87 minute, and then we lost it in extra time. So there was this feeling of we're just about there. And then to have that snatched away in that manner, in extra time, it felt like a gut punch. In the end, we lost 4-3 at Bolton. Bolton got promoted. So it was a real kind of seesaw of emotions.
To put it into perspective, again, one that we never really talk about. We remember teams that score last-minute winners and the scenes and limbs in the air. Imagine being on the other side of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for all the joy.
Yeah, I know it well.
Oh, I know it really well as well.
I know it well.
And those times make you want to cry, I'll be honest.
Good stuff, guys. Okay, make sure to be with the boys on the latest edition of Extra Time. They will be answering your questions. You can check it out every day over on our YouTube channel. Time to get you caught up on some MLS highlights, starting with NYCFC against Nashville. Things get underway pretty early here. We take it to the 10th minute. Quick start from Nashville. Jacob Schaffelberg opening the scoring.
Good run, good finish in the corner there, yeah. Oh, nice, well-timed run. I think the defender could maybe do a bit more there.
Yeah, the defender could do a whole lot more there.
Goalkeeper should do more though.
No, he's the only defender.
NYC would level here through Andres Pereira.
Nice finish from Pereira. Nice. Oh, okay, all right. Nice for work, just sidestep a couple of defenders. Again, defenders not covering themselves in glory here, Nadam.
NYCFC would turn the game around to get the winner here through Alonso Martinez.
It's a great ball into the box, outside of his right foot into that area where defenders just don't want to be. Thanks for the goalkeeper for doing nothing again.
Yeah, Alfredo with the ball in there.
Great.
Martinez's 13th goal of the season. This is how things are looking. In this, it was a hard-fought win at home for NYCFC. It helps them in their late season playoff push, as you can see, just outside those spots right now. Vancouver against Houston next up for you, a game where we got to see Thomas Muller's debut. He was on the bench to begin with, though, but the game got underway very early on. 5th minute, Jaden Nelson, fouled by Griffin Dawson.
Yeah, blame the goalie here. Blame the goalie here,
Goalie should have communicated to not make a silly tackle.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
This is Brian White. He's going to score that penalty, 1-0.
Nice pen. Very nice pen.
Good goal scorer, Brian White. Big fan.
Here comes Thomas Muller on for his debut. And not long after that, he did this.
He wouldn't, would he? Not from there.
Oh, what a hit this is.
Shame it never happened.
Oh, boy.
Shame it never happened. Disallowed.
Yeah, just allow it.
Yeah, be careful going to dangerous territory there, Shaka.
It's a matter of principle.
Great strike. Good to see him in MLS.
Yes, there we go. He said he could not believe the roar of the crowd as well when it did go in, so I think he's got his little taste for it now. 91st minute, though. Artur would find the leveller here.
Oh, nice finish.
A few tears in that stadium there when that goes in to make it 1-1 in the last minute.
Well, yes, because that does prevent Vancouver from moving into the second place in the Western Conference. And speaking of it, here is San Jose Earthquakes against San Diego.
Ali Derby. Oh, no.
Bad goalie mistake.
Shaka!
Joseph
Shaka.
Martinez says thank you.
Talk to me, Shaka.
Have a pass back trap.
Talk to me, Shaka. Talk to me, Shaka.
Oh, boy.
Talk to me, Shaka.
Couldn't see because of the mask.
Ah, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Needs to adjust it.
Mask kind of slipped out over his eyes.
I mean, leaving that to Joseph Martinez and MLS is probably not a good idea.
Of all people.
Yes.
San Diego, however, would make up for it. Cross from Marcus Ingvartsen with a headed goal here.
What a cross it is. Nice header. Easy finish.
And then Ingvartsen would send a long ball here. It's Andres Dreyer. Going to be his man and score. And that gives San Diego the lead.
Very nice finish. It's a bit alarming he can be that free in transition, but super composed on his left foot, bottom corner, and that's why they are, I believe, top of the league.
Yes,
That
they
little
are
goalie
flying.
error kind of sparked San Diego.
Just 7
good
regular
psychology,
season
I
games
see.
remaining. They're in with a really good chance of becoming the first MLS expansion side to make it 6 straight wins in the regular season. They are absolutely flying as Neymar.
Yeah, watch out for RSL, by the way. They may be in 10th now, but they're winning it all.
Oh,
You could have
boy,
just
yeah,
not mentioned them.
goodness.
But never mind.
No, nobody was.
They're winning it all.
Never mind.
Winning it all. Thank you for the graphic. Thank you.
ESPN FC is presented by Xfinity. The Wi-Fi is booming, and Football Americas will be booming tonight.
Boy.
With Casey
Look at,
and Alexis.
look at my very beardly beard.
Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. It's a cosy edition for you. Shaka and Nadem here with me to answer your questions.
Lovely vibe.
Be honest, you don't want to be here, really.
I'm so
finding
happy to be
yourself in
back.
Spain.
I got on the plane. I thought I cannot wait to be on tomorrow with Nadem and Shaq.
What's the word in Spanish? Mentiroso.
Mentirosa, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a
Look
lie.
at that.
Yeah.
Better Spanish than anyone else on this.
That is a lie.
Okay. Okay, Nadem, as the show's Man City expert, how frustrating is it?
It's not difficult, by the way, to be the Man City expert. Well, please, carry on.
How frustrating is it that the Premier League still hasn't ruled on the charges, and wouldn't it make more sense to have a verdict in the summer instead of potentially mid-season?
I think everyone would like to see it dealt with. I think it's been going on for way too long now. But interestingly, in regards to City and those charges, whatever the outcome's going to be, I don't think people are going to be happy either way. If City are clear, people say, oh, they shouldn't be clear. If City get charged, then City will put complaints in. So I don't think it even ends after the verdict comes in. So this is going to be going on for a little while longer.
I think the fact that it's taking this long has kind of taken away from an acceptance in that, to your point, if after all this, City's found not guilty of any charges, everybody's going to say, all right, well, yep, there you go. They just kind of, that's what's been going on.
No, I see where I don't necessarily agree with that.
Nah, I think if it was dealt with straight away, quickly, efficiently, one way or the other, people are more accepting of the result. But the fact that it's kind of dragged on, I just think kind of takes away from non-Manchester City
The more vocal groups are the ones who say City are cheats than the ones that say City aren't. The section in the middle who are waiting to see what's going to go on, you don't really hear from them. But they're the ones who will probably be quite keen to see what happens long term.
They fell asleep. You don't know we were waiting on something.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Instead of counting cheap, you could just count the potential charges.
Oh, there's a lot of
A lot of those. All right, start, bench or drop, maybe from what we've seen so far. Gyökeres, Ekitike, Shesko.
Start, bench, drop.
Yes.
I think for me personally, because I've seen 2 games now, I think you've got to start Ekitike. I think he's looked really good. And I think the fact that Liverpool sort of fell off a little bit after he came off in both games, I'm surprised at that. I think he's looked like the star for them so far. It's obviously early doors. Sesko played 20 minutes.
And that, I agree. I know who we started. But then who you bench and who you drop in is just the point. Yeah, Sesko come off the bench, played 20 minutes. Gyökeres started, but didn't do much to phone home about. So it's just a take it or leave it between those two for me.
Okay. You're going to be more committal than Shaka?
To give him a chance, I'll...
You don't have to give him
If
a
it's
chance.
such a big thing, like, why? It's not a big thing, is it? This doesn't matter. I would bench Shesko and drop Gyökeres.
Okay. What do you think?
But it's not a big thing.
You hate Arsenal.
It is not a big thing. It is not a big thing.
I hate Arsenal.
Doesn't want them to do well, does he?
I want City to do well, that's all.
What do you think of Chelsea's current defence and how can they resolve the issues with key players out?
As a defender.
So we're talking about Levi Colwill being out, which is the big thing in itself.
Yes.
And I don't think Tosin started the last game. No, I don't think he did. So I think Maresca's been talking about needing someone to replace Colwill. Colwill is somebody who's an England international. He's left-footed. He understands the system, and he can play.
He was in Trinidad this summer as well. That's
where it went wrong.
That's an important factor. That's where it went right. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I think Maresca's been very clear about wanting another centre-half, and I think for the balance of that team, they do need a strong left-footed centre-half to come in for the system that they play. Because a lot of the time, say for out to the left-hand side, you've got Cucurella, who goes up, goes into midfield, so you need someone that sees a game in that manner. So I don't think they'll necessarily struggle, but I don't think they'll be able to reach the heights that he believes that they'll be able to reach, because I think a lot of the game is built around receiving balls from the goalkeeper to a left-footed left centre-half who's very composed and can also deal with things on a one-to-one. So, yeah, I think they'll not be able to reach their potential until that's addressed.
It seems yesterday Guehi ignored Glasner post-match when Glasner was trying to get his attention on the pitch. Is this something or nothing?
Nothing. Guys do that all the time.
Everyone just trying to stir up drama.
Exhibit A.
Excuse me?
Never listen to anybody. Never listen to anybody on the pitch. Never listen to anybody on the pitch. Never.
No, listen, let's squash those allegations straight away. That was never the case. But one thing, especially within a game, a manager can shout you to say something, but you regularly don't understand what they're saying anyway. So whether or not you acknowledge them or not, a lot of the time you give it that.
Yeah.
Yes, boss. Yeah. Yes, boss. So I don't think it's anything, especially from the captain, because if there was real friction there, I don't think Glasner would have tried to reach out to him. So I think it's nothing.
All right.
I used to ignore managers all the time. I used to send the goalkeeper.
That's because you're miles away, that's why.
So they used to send the goalkeeper coach to run round the back of the goal. Stop letting the ball pass you. I was like, oh.
It's been 7 goals now.
Let's make it stop.
Let's not make it 8.
For everyone, what was the biggest individual goal you set for yourself before starting a season?
Biggest?
I don't know.
It's a good question, actually. For me, as a young player at City, I wanted to play more games. There was a point where I thought I could maybe get in the mix at England, and I made like maybe one provisional squad. So that was a thing in itself. But if you allow me to indulge myself and zoom forward.
Yeah, we do.
So when I went to the USA to play for Real Salt Lake, I went in around August, literally this time, and I had till the end of this season and the next one. And the only way I'd get another year is if I played 24 games, and then it was automatically like renewed. And I wanted to stay. So at the start of my second season, in my goal, I said I need to do everything I can to make sure that I hit this mark so that I can remain settled and know, because I was going to retire at the end of that contract. So I needed to do everything I could to make sure I could retire how I wanted to retire. So that season was a really good season for me. Played a lot of football, played a lot of good football. And it was the right place. My family were happy and everything like that. So going into that season, I'd never thought so consciously about making sure that I hit a specific number. And we all know the way football works. You regularly don't always get the chance to decide whether you play or not. But I played well enough to where, like, of course I'm going to be playing, and I was one of the leaders of the team. So yeah.
That's nice.
I know. Obviously, it's not like Premier League, whatever, but it's.
I don't know if I kind of set targets like that. You know, I mean.
You're just too chill, Shaq.
No, but I'm sure Nathan would understand. You know, playing in the back there, you be judged by one thing only, clean sheets, and you have so little to do with it.
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is, it's better to win a game 2-1 than it is to draw 0-0. So, you know, by nature, you don't set those targets. You want to be part of a winning team, and that's all. And you play a part in it. That's all there is to it.
I've got to say as well, 2013-14 in the championship with QPR, we had to get promoted. Like, had to get promoted. And as the season progressed, it's like if we didn't get promoted, the whole club is going to be destroyed. So, yeah, there was a bit of pressure that came with that. And we did get promoted, which was a huge relief, but via Wembley, of course.
But that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, it's
It
also the
doesn't feel
worst
like
way to
it.
lose.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Trust me, I know. But it doesn't feel it. But then when it does come to that, that's so much to celebrate, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in the playoff final.
Well, I'll take your word for it. I've never won them.
I know. I mean, I'm saying this. Okay. Anything to say about West Ham? Lost Kudus and Alvarez. Lost 3-0 to Sunderland. Relegation battle for Potter incoming?
I'm genuinely concerned. I remember, I can't remember who I was speaking to before his season. I said, I think they'll be all right. I think Potter with a pre-season, you've lost Kudus, and as important as he was, you keep hold of Bowen, you keep hold of Paqueta, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing, reports that Paqueta wants out now. And that was a bad start. I mean, there's no way to kind of dress that up. That was as bad a start as you could hope for. So kind of given how poor they were last season, and that start, I'm again very, very worried.
Yeah, I agree, and I think what makes it worse is you thought they'd be all right.
Yeah.
No fan wants to start a season and think my team will be all right. It's so underwhelming to start with.
Optimism that kills you.
Yeah, exactly. This might be okay this year.
Yeah.
And given how poor they were in the back half of last season, and also at the start of last season, they had Lopetegui as manager.
Yeah.
In came Graham Potter. You're hoping there's going to be a change, a spark. It was much of the same. And as he's mentioned, they've lost some key players. And a tough start up there. It's not great.
Okay. Naden, what does your ideal City lineup look like for this season?
Oh, gosh.
It's from Shaka's personal chef.
Shaka's personal chef has put me in an awkward situation here because I'm very greedy and I like to play more than 11 players whenever possible. This is so political because I know that my City people are watching and I can't.
I've never seen Naden in such pain.
I want Erling Haaland to start. And then after that, I don't know. I do not know.
This means that he actually knows he wants to leave one of his mates out in his ideal.
Oh, boy.
No, but it's not even mates because this question is a great question because it's not about who I say, it's about who I don't say. And that's the trap. And
that we'll remind you of throughout the season.
100%, yeah. Like, so for example, I'll say, I want Shirky to start and Reinders and Rodri. And they'll be like, oh, what about Phil Foden? Oh, what about Bernardo Silva?
We have 10 more spots to fill now, Naden.
Unfortunately, due to a series of unfortunate circumstances, only Erling Haaland starts for Man City. So, that's my answer. But thanks for the question, and I'll make sure to answer.
Haaland on his own is not going to win the league.
It's
a one-man team.
day.
So nobody expects him to anyway, apparently. So put them out of misery.
It's his last day here in the studio, and he thinks he can get away with
Right,
it.
that's not even sitting on the fence. I don't know where he is.
That is called running away as quickly as
Oh,
possible
yeah,
from the issues ahead.
I think each week we need to do the 11. We'll put Haaland in, and we'll do the other 10.
And we do, right, that's,
As the season
one
goes
more.
on, he can he can
Many
fill
an
it in.
ESPN producers asked me to say, what is your preferred Man City starting 11? And unfortunately, I just don't read the message in time.
Disrespectful.
You
gets
read
like
it
that.
now.
It gets
You've
like
got
that.
11 weeks.
Yes, I'll let you know about that.
10 more
This
weeks.
is Shaka's personal chef. It's not an ESPN producer.
I know, but for all I know, it could be a little burner account for one of the producers.
No,
who
let me
knows.
tell you, man. And my personal chef has got a lot on his plate.
Well, he hasn't.
He's only got. Oh boy.
Okay, sorry to disappoint you there with that final answer from Naden, but
Tell my chef.
that's how it goes here on
And that's
ESPN FC sometimes.
not accepting that.
It's been 8 days. It's been 8 days. I've got myself into enough trouble. I just want to go home to Manchester.
Join the club.
Home. You can think about it on the plane home.
I will think
Come back
about it.
next week.
I will think
And
about
at least
it.
5 more, please.
I confirm I will think about it.
All right.
That is all.
Okay.
And it's the thought that counts. Okay, thank you so much for joining us on the latest edition of Extra Time. We'll be back tomorrow without Naden to do it all over again.